You might have noticed that there's a bit of rancor when you go online and try to have conversations with people. Not even trying to have any kind of argument, but just simply talking things out, sharing information, and then inquiring with others about information that they share. Like literally this exchange of ideas is how you grow your knowledge. It's how you basically have your brain come to conclusions about what you believe about things. And so what has happened though is you got a lot of rank amateurs trying to talk to each other online. And I say that with all love and respect. Most people don't know how to talk to each other. Now that seems so weird. What do you mean? They talk to each other all the time. No, they shout their position and they denounce you if you have a position that has anything other than what they believe in it. That's not having conversation. That's not really anything except your way or the highway. And I would even say that if you only get one side of things and you can't even entertain another position, that's propaganda. And there's a lot of people who have fallen prey to propaganda techniques. And so today here on Jimmy Rants, if you're just joining us, we're going to do a class in critical thinking skills. I'm calling it Critical Thinking 101. And I'm going to teach you from this article that I found all about how to develop critical thinking skills. I'm gonna teach you how to do it because quite frankly, most of us grew up in an era, at least my age and younger, where you didn't really have it taught. I remember being a kid of the 80s. I wasn't discouraged from asking questions, but there certainly was not this push to try to get you to critically think. It was almost like, all right, here's the information. Now you regurgitate it back to me. Good, you get an A on the test, move on, da-da. And that was kind of the way things were, and it's even worse now. Maybe the age of my parents, which is over 70, maybe they got a little bit better taught this, but it seems in this day and age, a lot of adults came into adulthood without ever developing this key skill that I think is a key life skill that everyone needs to have. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. This article I have defines what critical thinking is. It gives some examples of it, and I will certainly infuse some examples and get you to provide some as well. And then how to improve your critical thinking skills. This is probably going to be the most practical Jimmy Rants I've ever done, so please share this far and wide. When it's over on Facebook, you can share it now on any of the pages that you're a part of, including your own page. Definitely share the IGTV when we're done here. And then you can grab the link to the Twitch and share it all over the internet as well. All right, let's get into this. Why is critical thinking so important? First of all, everyone seeks it. Employers, people that want to have a conversation intellectually, everybody wants critical thinking. Also, we live in an era where there's a lot of falsities out there in the news. There's also data that contrasts, like one day they tell you masks work, the next day masks don't work. And there's so much information you have to process on a daily basis. Think about pre-internet, what it was like to process information. You read a few newspapers and then you discussed the issues of the day. Now you've got not just those newspapers, but websites, you've got videos, you've got social media pages. You've got so much to pour through that if you're looking for a point of view, you can find it. No matter what the point of view is, you will find that point of view. And it's easy to have yourself go down this rabbit hole of confirmation bias of only looking at things that reinforce what you always believe and already believe. I want to push you today with this critical thinking exercise. I want to push you to look at things that you don't agree with. I make myself do that as an exercise as well. It's very easy to be comfortable having people that basically echo what you already believe, but push yourself to be challenged. Critical thinking is the only way to make any sense in this world. So what we will show you in this post today is the best definition of critical thinking skills, how to use them step by step, which we'll get into in a minute, a list of the most important critical thinking skills for the workplace, and then tools and ideas for how to improve your skills. So if you're ready for all that, here we go, you guys. Before we jump into defining what critical thinking skills are, let's do a quick experiment. So let your mind wander into this area of this particular subject and see if you can start to critically think about this. So the topic is, we want to know, is drinking coffee good for you? That's a common kind of thing that people debate and think about. So what would you do if you were trying to critically think that? First, you would go do a search. Reasons not to drink coffee. Because you want to see, okay, is there any contraindication to drinking coffee? Maybe I'll find an article that says, okay, here's why it could be a bad idea. So when you start looking things up, you see all kinds of things. Oh, if you drink coffee, you'll decrease your anxiety. You'll have healthier teeth. You'll even lose weight and have a healthier heart. If you go right now, do a search for reasons not to drink coffee. All of that comes up in the search. So then you say, well, I guess that means if I drink coffee, all that'll happen. I'll just drink coffee all the time. Like, you could come to that conclusion. Are you critically thinking? Not quite. How about reasons not to drink coffee? All those were reasons to drink coffee. How about reasons not to drink coffee? If you look that up, you'll see, or sorry, I did it backwards. The previous was not, this is two. If you drink coffee, you'll have lower rates of depression, you'll boost your memory, you'll have greater longevity, and just like the other one said the opposite, you'll have a healthier heart. So then you might be going, well, wait a minute. Now I'm getting conflicting information on the same subject. So what do you do with that? This is where critical thinking skills come into play. These are not some random unsupported online websites, which a lot of people, you know these people in your life who will send you one link. There's no other link on the internet, but one link to something they heard about that they're so sure about. And that's it. There's no cooperation. But every one of these in this example here, they're legit peer-reviewed research that will back up their findings. So what do you do then? How do you reconcile those contradictory claims when there's science behind both? I would even parse out the science. Is the science a randomized controlled clinical trial? Or is it just an observational study or some epidemiological study where you're looking at a lot of studies and coming to some common conclusion? That matters as well. So what critical thinking says is, okay, seemingly opposite positions both being argued for, let's dig even deeper and see if we can parse this out even more. So you reconcile the contradictory claims by using critical thinking. So now let's define critical thinking. Critical thinking is the ability to think in an organized and rational manner. Who among you think critically under that definition? You think in an organized and rational manner. I would add the word, it's not in their definition, but I would add the word in objective. Are you someone who's willing, no matter what your preconceived notions are, no matter what you believe personally, can you remain objective in a conversation? Meaning, you're not really rah-rah one way or the other, but you're seeing both sides simultaneously. That is an extremely hard skill to do in this day and age when people want to put you in an extreme box, one or the other. And it's so funny because in my writing, I'm very careful to try to be objective. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's going to take some work. And even sometimes when your best of intentions of being objective, you still have people who will misinterpret or read into something you wrote. Well, because you wrote that, therefore you're, and then they go right to an extreme. And it's like, no, you can talk about issues without taking the two extremes of a position. And this is part of why we get into trouble these days, you guys. People, they hear you say something and they automatically look at that, assimilate it in their head, and they're, you're this way or you're that way. There is no room for kind of a discussion in the middle. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about critical thinking. We're doing a bit of a class today, Critical Thinking Skills 101. I called it AKA How Not to Get Propagandized, because a lot of people are, and they just buy things at face value without really thinking. So critical thinking, the ability to think in an organized and rational manner. And why do you do that? In order to understand connections between ideas and or facts. What this does is it helps you decide, what do you actually believe in? In other words, it's thinking about thinking. So what you want to do is identify, analyze, and then fix the flaws in the way we think. How many of you would describe yourself as a critical thinker based on that definition? It's a rare trait, and I admire anybody who can exhibit this, especially in a public forum. It can be very difficult to show critical thinking skills because you're going to have so many people not exhibit those that you're going to stand out like a sore thumb, and they're going to wonder why you're not getting up in arms about whatever topic is being discussed. So they list here in this article how to be a critical thinker. To become one, it takes lots of time, lots of practice, and lots of patience. But something you can start doing right now today. That's why I'm doing this Jimmy Rants today. All of us can be better for one another. You can do right now to improve your critical thinking skills is apply the 7 steps of critical thinking to any problem or any issue that comes up in your life. Either at work, in everyday life, on social media, doesn't matter. If there's a topic, you can use these 7 steps to work your way through it in a critical thinking manner. So you guys ready for this? This is solid gold. If you've never heard of how to use your noggin and go through life kind of critical thinking, these are questions to help you go through the steps. All right, step number 1 of critical thinking. Identify what the problem is or what the question is. Be as precise as possible when you identify it. The narrower the issue, the easier it is to find solutions or answers. And is that ever right? I think sometimes we neglect that sometimes there's such broadness, such generality to things that are discussed, that if you don't bring in every little angle to that general question or general idea, you're going to have people have knee-jerk reactions because they're going to see it from one angle of things. You're going to see it from another angle of things, and you're trying to have a conversation and critically think each other. You can't if you're not both looking at the same thing. So try to narrow the scope of what it is exactly you're talking about. I could easily say, keto is healthy. So there will be a certain segment of people that'll say, yeah, keto is healthy. And I have this to prove it. I've lost weight, I've lowered my blood pressure, and lower my blood sugar and insulin levels, And then somebody else that had a bad experience with keto and had other issues like what I talked about yesterday, all those people with that Hollywood actress calling out keto, all those people that had bad reactions. Oh, keto's not healthy. I got pancreatitis. I had this and that and this and that. And they just go through all the reasons why it's not healthy. Now, what happened there? You didn't identify the problem or question precisely. You didn't get to the nitty-gritty. So in discussions of ideas, part of the key to critical thinking is narrow in really tightly on those very specific things that you have knowledge about, that you're creating an opinion or sharing information about. The broader it is, the more openness there is to misunderstanding and conflict and not having a good productive discussion. Does that make sense? So that's the first one.